And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, live, an impromptu YouTube exclusive, I guess we can call it, Ian. Just got done spending Friday night with you watching some GCW. You only watched half the show. Thoughts?
Yeah, it was a long day. Had a really rough day at work. Really rough day on the golf course. So decided let's just call it a night real quick, But it was a good night. It was a fun night. Good GCW wrestling. So I can't really complain. SmackDown was pretty solid, I would say.
Yeah, I think that ending to SmackDown, and we know that was a pre-recorded episode. They did that after last week's SmackDown, but that closing segment where Jimmy Uso just very hesitant, calling himself the tribal chief. I mean, this story just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it, Ian?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good episode, a good go home episode. I'm surprised the fact that didn't get leaked from last week's recording. And no one mentioned, because I mean that's a pretty big moment. That's basically saying, yeah, the Usos in the bloodline, it's over. So I'm pretty surprised that it didn't get leaked somehow. But altogether, it was a great moment, cool episode. I do want to ask you really quick.
Yeah.
Do you think it should have been Jay that kind of made that statement?
I think Jay already had his moment as when Jay was feuding for the title and everything, that's when he was getting that singles push. But Jimmy kind of just got pushed aside throughout all this. I think he's probably at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the bloodline. So I think it's pretty cool and unique that now Jimmy is the one who's sort of questioning Roman Reigns and if that really is their tribal chief and all that stuff. So I think he's the big factor going into the match here tonight, or I should say today in a couple hours. It's crazy. Yeah. We're only 2 hours away from Night of Champions. But speaking of Night of Champions, you can fill out your predictions. We still acknowledge us. The OTM bloodline are the champions. Us two, Ryan Vogus and Jim Tucker. You can go fill out your predictions for Night of Champions happening here in the next couple hours. If you're watching this at a later date, it's obviously past Night of Champions, but bit.ly/Night of Champions 23. You see it there on the screen. See if you can become the OTM PLE champion and check out all the great merchandise we have to offer this weekend at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. You see the t-shirt I'm wearing right now. This is available on our website this weekend. And if you use promo code KNOCKDOWN, NOCDON, you will save 10% off of your order. And Ian, I know I brought you in here for an impromptu NXT Battleground preview. Put it on the record. You do not watch NXT, correct?
I do not. I keep up a little bit with champions, obviously. Carmelo Hayes a little bit. I've been keeping a lot with Bron Breakker because I do think he is the future. So might as well get used to him now. Other than that, not really. I don't usually watch a ton of NXT, just not a lot of time. Just a weird day on Tuesday as well. Just really doesn't end up working out.
Come Tuesday, some would say.
Some would say.
Yeah, let's just get into it then. We just figured we'd get out some more content. Obviously, for episode 146, I was joined by Steve from SCW, the wrestling channel, and a returning Erica Marini. We talked about Night of Champions and Double or Nothing. And you could also fill out your Double or Nothing picks. That is happening at the same time as NXT Battleground. bit.ly/Double or Nothing 23. I believe Jim Tucker is our AEW champion. Jim Tucker and Mikey Wilson actually were in attendance last night for GCW Lifestyle. The boys look like they had a good time.
Yeah, that's to say the least. I think that's Mikey. Was that his first time at a GCW event?
I believe
so. Yeah. I'm sure his eyes were open to a whole new genre of wrestling. Tuck, we know he loves it, and he really seemed like he loved it last night. So I think the boys had a good time.
Boys were buzzing in Vegas. We were talking about that this morning. Like if there was a wrestling weekend in Las Vegas, I'd be in trouble. That'd be a wild ride.
We try to go to every single show, and in the filler time, we would be probably gambling with gags.
Casino. That's right. Gamble with gags. Bring it back. Bring it back to OTSN. Let's do it. But let's just get into it then. This NXT Battleground, like I said, happening at the same time as Double or Nothing. So I'm not expecting a lot of people to be checking this out live. We will have it on the side TV. Me, you, Ryan Vogus going to be watching Double or Nothing, of course, and Jim Tucker and Mikey will be live in attendance for Double or Nothing. But the first matchup we're going to talk about here for NXT Battleground is a last man standing match between Dijak and Ilya Dragunov. This one's interesting, Ian, because and I could say this for a lot of the matches on this card. There was a little bit of a shakeup recently in NXT, a couple big names getting called up. So it's a different look right now in NXT. Dijak obviously returning to NXT about a year ago, I believe. And then now he's in this feud with Ilya Dragunov. A lot of stuff happening backstage. You know, they've had a lot of backstage brawls. So this is going to be a very fitting stipulation for this one. Ian, I know you know a little bit about both of these talents. Two guys that I think could potentially make their way to the main roster soon. But for this match itself, who do you got?
So I'm really, it kind of depends on, so what led up to this last man standing match? Kind of what was the build?
They've just been beating the shit out of each other backstage. I believe Dijak's the one that instigated it, but you know, these are just two brawlers that just want to get after it.
Right. So from the sounds of it, I know Ilya is a little bit younger than Dijak, so I would probably lean towards putting Ilya over in something like this, kind of building the future NXT, kind of building that guy that's next for the title. So I'm probably going to lean Ilya on this one.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick. Dijak, I just don't know. This new character is better than what T-Bar was, but when he was just Dominic Dijakovic, that was the best thing. He was having matches with Keith Lee, you know, Adam
Keith
Cole.
Lee matches were
some of the best in NXT history, you know?
Absolutely.
And now it's kind of just a cheesy gimmick, and I'm not really a big fan of it. He's an awesome talent. This is going to be a great match, but I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to go Ilya Dragunov here. I think Ilya Dragunov is, you know, poised to be called up here very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the guy that inevitably takes that title off Gunther on Monday Night Raw, because they have history. He's the one that dethroned Walter at the time for the UK title. So I think a win for Ilya Dragunov here can take him to that next level.
I think that's a interesting point with Gunther. I don't see, here's the thing I find a little weary about that idea of taking the title off him. Maybe definitely contending for it. I don't think he could take it off him if he still has it by the time Ilya comes up. It's a fact you got to think of the casual WWE fan that wouldn't be NXT, and it's like they wouldn't know the history. And from the looks of it, Ilya, he's a little bit smaller than Gunther, so
a lot smaller than Gunther.
Yeah, so I don't know if that would make sense, but I definitely contending. Yes, absolutely, they could have amazing feud with them.
Obviously, the diehards like myself would know the history, but you make a good point. The main roster, the casuals, they're not going to know who Ilya Dragunov is. So if he does inevitably get called up, they're probably going to have to do a little bit of building with him and spend some time to build him up to be credible enough to face a guy like Gunther on the main roster. But yeah, there's the first matchup for NXT Battleground. Let's move to this one. It is a tag team championship match between the champions Gallus and the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers are in an interesting spot because they've kind of done everything in NXT over the past couple years. Already have held the gold once, I believe, maybe twice. I'm not 100%, so the chat can correct me if I'm wrong there. But Gallus, ever since making their way over to the States, really hasn't connected with me. I mean, they're just tough guys. That's basically their character. So I'm just going to go with the Creed brothers here because I think they need a little change in their tag team division. The Creed brothers are awesome, and that's another team that could get called up very soon. But for me personally, Gallus does nothing for me. So I think I'm just betting with my heart here, and I'm going to go with the Creed brothers. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, I'm also going with my heart with the Creed brothers. I know Coffee and Wolfgang from NXT UK just a little bit, just watching a little bit of their matches. Not a lot, but this is when NXT UK was a first coming out and being a thing. I've never heard of them as a tag team, so that just shows my my knowledge about NXT. I had no idea they were the champions, honestly. But I do know the Creed brothers. I think they could still use some more time in NXT because at this point, I think if you throw a name like the Creed brothers in to the main roster, that's, I mean, to put it simply, probably a jobber kind of squad, jobber kind of tag.
Might get lost in the shuffle.
Right, exactly. So I think Creed brothers could use a little bit more time in NXT, probably with the championship. It's a team that people could get behind. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Creed brothers here.
Yeah, I think that's a safe pick. It's just we need a change. Just Gallus as the tag team champions is doing nothing for me, and I know that's going to make our UK friends a little mad because they love Gallus. They say Gallus boys on top. Not around here, partner. Not around here. It's the Creed brothers. We're going with the Creeds in this one. This next one, Dragon Lee, I believe, second match on a PLE since joining the WWE. He's taking on Noam Dar. I don't know much about the NXT Heritage Cup. I do believe that is something that happened over in the UK that Noam Dar holds. Obviously, we've seen Noam Dar before on the main roster. He did stuff with 205 Live and Alicia Fox years ago, and now he's resurfaced here in NXT in the States. Ian, I'll let you go first. Really not much to this. It kind of started with a talk segment on NXT, and then I guess they really don't have anything yet for Dragon Lee, so might as well throw him into a match with Noam Dar because it would probably be a good one.
Yeah, so this is where my head is leaning. Noam Dar's been around for quite a long time, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. And he might seem like a younger guy, but he's getting up there. He's a veteran. But then you got a young guy like Dragon Lee. So this might surprise you, but I'm going to go Dragon Lee here. What better introduction than putting this cup with Dragon Lee, the newcomer? I mean, the guy's already good. We know him from the indies. I think if they're looking for the future of NXT and trying to build it, I think the smart move would put it on Dragon Lee. Can he hold up in the WWE grand scheme of things and the way they do their matches? Maybe. But
time will tell.
Time will tell. But might as well take a shot in the dark and throw it on Dragon Lee.
Yeah, I that's funny. You're giving these predictions. We didn't talk about what we were going to predict. I'm in agreement again. Wow. And I watch NXT every week. So this is good news for you. You're doing pretty well. I'm going with Dragon Lee as well. I think he needs some steam behind him. He doesn't need to carry this Heritage Cup everywhere. I think that's more of a heel thing to do and flaunt a trophy. So I think Dragon Lee wins it, kind of just adds to that resume, and then he can maybe take that next step. North American champion, NXT champion, and who knows, maybe in a year or two, he'll be on the main roster. But our friend Steve, speaking of Steve, he was on episode 146. What's happening, gang? Thanks for stopping by, Steve. He's got a little history for us. He said the Heritage Cup is 6 rounds of 3 minutes each, 2 out of 3 falls match. Oh, okay. Although if there is a DQ or KO, then the match ends immediately. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, so yeah, this is a British rules match, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. That's awesome.
I think that'll be highly entertaining. This could steal NXT Battleground. Yeah. So that made me more excited for it. That's a unique format right there. But we're both going with Dragon Lee to win the Heritage Cup here, which then we got 3 more matches to talk about, and then we're going to get the hell out of here. This one for the North American title, the champion Wes Lee, who really has exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Ever since Zach Wentz got released from the company, people thought Wes Lee was going to get lost in the shuffle. It's actually the opposite that's really happened. He's taken the ball and ran with it as this singles champion, one of the longer reigning UK champions, or North American champions, here in NXT. He takes on Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate. Now, if you don't know this, Ian, Wes Lee and Tyler Bate have had a little bit of a relationship over the past month. They've been friendly at times, but Tyler Bate has kind of had his eyes set on some gold. He really hasn't been doing much. He was, flirting with Chase U for a little bit, and then he was doing stuff with Wes Lee, and now he gets thrown into this triple threat here for the United. God, why do I keep forgetting the North American title? There's just so many titles in wrestling. I forget what they're called. But this one's interesting, Ian, because like I said, Wes Lee's been the champion for some time. But if you were to take the belt off of him, I think a triple threat is a good position to do so.
Yeah. So from the sounds of it, I know the name Tyler Bate.
Big strong boy.
Another UK guy, I do believe. NXT UK guy. Yep. See, I think the smart move would be a retain, but also in the same fact, when is Wes Lee going to the main roster and when is he setting his sights higher?
Yeah.
Joe Gacy, I'm not really sure his backstory. I know he kind of he's starting to fall a little bit more flat with his character.
He's got the schism behind him. The Rock's daughter is a part of that group, and then the grizzled young veterans who apparently are going to be leaving WWE in a couple months.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, with seeing that, is that their factions might be going away a little bit. I'm going to go a retain here. I think Wes Lee keeps the title, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Bate, maybe, because you said he was friendly with him, wouldn't be surprised if a Tyler Bate heel turn happened and kind of just beat the crap out of Wes Lee for the championship. So I'm going to go with the Tyler Bate one because I think that's a little bit more.
That's more fun.
Yeah, that's more fun.
There's a little bit more to come out of that if Tyler Bate's the one to walk away with the title. Our friend Steve's going with Wesley to retain. I actually thought you were going to say, since maybe that the schism that's Joe Gacy's faction is kind of, falling apart a little bit, that maybe a singles title can elevate him a little bit. He's the one that, if West doesn't retain, I think wins. I'm not sure if it's Tyler Bate's time quite yet, because he's still very young. We've seen Tyler Bate on WWE TV for almost 6-7 years, I believe. And, he's still in his 20s. So there's plenty of time for Tyler Bate to get the title. I'm going to go with Steve. I'm going to have Wesley retain. I think it's the safe play. I think he's doing good stuff with the title. So might as well just keep it on him from now. And maybe Joe Gacy can get a singles match.
Quick question. Is Wesley, would he be the longest reigning North American champ? Because I know Ciampa held it for quite a long time.
Ciampa didn't hold that title that long. I believe the Velveteen Dream might have one of the longer reigns. Carmelo Hayes. I know Johnny Gargano has held it 3 times. I know he's held it the most, but yeah, for the longer reigns, I think either Mello or Velveteen are up there, because Wesley won this title in October, if I'm not mistaken.
War Games, right?
I'm not 100% on that one. I forgot who he faced. It might have been a 5-way match, because they do a lot of 5-ways for these titles. So correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. You know everything. I know you're probably still in the chat, but we got 2 more matches here. We're looking to crown a new NXT Women's Champion. The title's vacant, obviously, since Indy Hartwell got called up to the main roster. She wanted that Stand and Deliver, had to relinquish, and now she is on Monday Night Raw. So I thought we were going to get Cora Jade versus Roxanne for the title. I thought that just made sense. Surprisingly, Lyra Valkyria, she got a quick win over Cora, which I was not a fan of. Not sure what we're doing with Cora Jade on NXT. I thought she would have been champion by now. Nonetheless, Tiffany Stratton has done some very good stuff in NXT. Very green still, but still very crisp in the ring. I think this one's an obvious decision. I think it's Tiffany's time. She's the star. Lyra Valkyria, we really don't know much about her other than she kind of acts like a bird at times, which is very fucking weird. It's going to be a good match, but I think the slam dunk pick, Ian, is going with Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, I've been keeping a little bit of track with Tiffany, mainly because of Busted Open. She's been doing a ton of interviews.
Twice now with Busted Open.
And it's actually pretty funny. The one yesterday, no, it was Wednesday's show. Tiffany joined in on the pod and doesn't know anything about wrestling, is what we find out. Very athletic, got the look of a champion and got the look of a great wrestler in WWE, but she's very green, as you said. But yes, Tiffany Stratton is the one you could strap that title onto. Maybe throw a veteran at her or two to go after the title, put on some good matches. But if you're trying to build a really young roster with a lot of decently green wrestlers, Stratton could have a tough time, if that makes any sense. But Tiffany Stratton is the one to put the title on right now.
Yeah, and the safer option would have been going Roxanne, but she's already held the title. I think she's on her way up very soon. The Cora Jade one still is the one that stands out to me. I thought she was going to be the one. I think she's more of a safe bet holding that title than Tiffany, but that's not taking anything away from Tiffany. I think she's great, and she's got a lot of potential in the WWE. So, yeah, it makes sense for her to become the women's champion here at NXT Battleground. So we got one more match to talk about, and then we're going to get the hell out of here, because Night of Champions is happening an hour and 45 minutes that we're going to be watching. Day of Champions in the States, for sure. This one's going to be the main event. Bron Breakker, who recently turned heel, getting his rematch against Carmelo Hayes for the NXT title. Obviously, this one's going to be good. I think the decision is very simple, though, since he just recently won the title. I think they're going to keep it on Carmelo Hayes. I'm not sure what that means for Bron Breakker. Maybe Bron is getting that call up very soon. I am curious, though, what you think. If Bron were to lose here, do you think he is a heel on the main roster? Do they keep this heel, or do they maybe shake hands after this match and he goes back to being a babyface before he gets that call up?
So I think you're inferring that I'm going to take Carmelo Hayes to retain here.
I am, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong here, because I think what you want to do is have Bron Breakker win the title in his rematch, and then next PLE at NXT, have them do that trilogy, finish off the trilogy,
Maybe
That way you give Bron Breakker some time to solidify. Like, I am a heel. I'm not Mr. Nice Guy anymore. I'm not wearing the flashy colors anymore. I think that's kind of what should happen. I don't think Bron really has any. I don't see any opening to bring him to the roster right now. We're already
a good point.
Trying to bring up all these guys that were signed in the draft. So I don't think there's really that much time for him. So I'm going to go with Bron Breakker winning back the title, leading up to an eventual third match.
I can't believe you don't even watch NXT and you're basically convincing me to go Bron Breakker here, because that makes a lot of sense, because I don't see a spot for him right now on the main roster. I feel like it's crowded and they're trying to introduce a bunch of new talent that, like you said, got brought in from the draft. It would make a lot of sense to just run it back and do that trilogy, but I'm gonna stick with Carmelo. I'm not gonna change my mind, but I like your reasoning.
The biggest reason, is just to give Bron Breakker some time to solidify his heel turn, because doing that scary heel turn out of nowhere and then immediately going back to, okay, you won, you got the title, I'm laying off now, I'm just gonna go basically retire. So I don't think I could really believe that. With a scary guy like Bron, if he's a heel, I mean, this dude's gonna be relentless to the title.
Steve likes your points, and Steve, for the record, Ian does not watch NXT. So.
No. Nope.
Maybe this guy just knows what he's talking about. That's why he's our part-timer. Steve also said Mello for the dub. Enjoy Night of Champions. Steve, you enjoy Night. Oh, you're going to be working, I think. I think Steve's working during Night of Champions. So stay off social media, Steve. You don't want any spoilers. But speaking of Night of Champions, you still got an hour and 40 minutes to fill out your predictions. bit.ly/Night of Champions 23. See if you can dethrone the OTM bloodline. And happening at the same time as NXT Battleground is Double or Nothing. You can fill out those predictions at bit.ly/Double or Nothing 23. And Ian, if they want to support the show, they can do so by going to the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com. Do you remember what promo code they would use this weekend to save 10%?
That's a tough question. So I'm going to bring it to you.
It's at the bottom of the screen, and I said it earlier in the show. I believe it's going to be coming up here in just a second, so I'm just going to tee it up for you. What code are they using at checkout?
Not on the screen still, so
it definitely is at the bottom ticker. It is NOCDON. Knockdown is the code that you can use to save 10% at our merch site. So that's what
you got to tell the people. Join the Discord. Everybody's talking in there. The Discord has been buzzing recently. Steve, we'd love to see you in there if you can make it. Get all your notifications. Hang out with the crew. We like talking wrestling. We had the guys at the indie show. They were sharing pictures from the show last night. So want to be in the mix of what's going on and
in the know.
Yes, please join the Discord. And if you need the link, reach out to the OTM Twitter. Reach out to me on Twitter. We'll get you in there. That's all I got. But also buy an honorary Mark shirt, because you want to be at Mark.
These are fire. These are the best t-shirt designs we got. And you see Ian's Twitter handle on the screen. He is the Discord manager. So if you're trying to get in, reach out to him, or like he said, at Pod on the Mark. And of course, this video is on YouTube. The YouTube keeps growing, and it's growing because you guys are liking, you're sharing, and you're subscribing. So do all that good stuff. Follow us on all of our socials at Pod on the Mark. And we will talk to you guys next time. Enjoy this fun wrestling-filled weekend. Sip.